We can find a handy dandy little chart to throw up on the screen. But here's the different timelines. So the original one is like Halloween 1 through 6. 3's on its own.
Right.
But Halloween 1, 2, and then 4, 5, and 6 are like its own thing. And then technically the H2O quadrilogy, which is Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection. And then the 2 Rob Zombies exist on their own.
Yeah.
And then the newer 3, the David Gordon Green Boogeyman trilogy, as I like to call it, the Boogeyman trilogy.
Yeah.
That one takes place.
Tell me, if you like the world, not the people.
I like the essence of the world, but not the world itself.
You like its organizations, its advertising factotums, its automobiles, its assembly line souls. It's bad.
Well, it's silly.
Let's remove it. Huh?
But it feeds me. It brings me cans of Portland.
Hello, and welcome to another rendition of the Holy Goof podcast, where we create, inspire others to do so as well. This is the series Sit Down, and it is spooky season. I'm Spencer. Who's the fellas?
Josh.
I'm Brett.
And we have come to you with another rendition of series Sit Down. We're going to sit down, talk about different shows or movies that we've been watching, and just recap with a thematic style that we have coined. This time we're going to sit down with the Halloween franchise. Very excited, obviously appropriate for the season. Can't wait to get into a discussion about that. You guys have anything to say?
Yeah, well, I mean, for Brett, who's a true fan, this was easy peasy because he watches these movies every day. For Spence and I, we had to binge 13 movies in about 10 days to get ready for this, so we are Halloweened up.
Oh yeah.
It was definitely.
As you can hear, I've got quite the cold that's kicking my ass. So I'll try
That's
and
Brett's
keep
spooky
up
voice.
as best I can for this Halloween.
But that's just the spooky season voice.
It's perfect. It's perfect for my outfit, which is Captain. Good.
Oh, Captain Kirk, yes. As you can see, we've dressed.
Josh, you can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Josh, you can throw ahead. Go ahead and throw a reference photo there of Kirk in that green outfit, which is. He looks much better than I do in that with my like 3 chest hair, and I feel like a little. Feel a little exposed right now.
If you feel exposed, how do you think I feel?
What are you, Josh?
I'm the pretty visible man.
Pretty visible.
Yes, as you can see, we've dressed for the occasion. We got the pretty visible man. We got Captain Kirk and Lucas Sinclair from Stranger Things.
Lucas!
Falcons number 8 shooting guard. Best shooter in the league. All right.
I understand these references.
Yeah, so as I said, we are the Holy Goose. We create, inspire others to do so as well. Go check out our website, theholygoof.com. We got merch on there, holygoof.com/shop. We're featuring the Cast Collective on our Mad Ones section. We're just helping out the creators. And also, because we are doing Halloween, and we're going to be covering our boy Michael Myers, just as a little side note, if you do go to holygoof.com, you will see an ultimate ranking of all of these movies by our very own Brett. You might want to give that a gander following this watch.
There are obviously going to be spoilers for every Halloween film, including the newest film, Halloween Ends, during this podcast, so just be aware.
True.
As I said, we're going to break this up into themes. We got Uncommonplace, we got Mad Ones, we got For Damn Kicks, Kill Your Darlings, and we're going to wrap it up with quotes. I figure for this one we'll start with Uncommonplace, where we just discuss anything that stands out in this franchise, anything different or uncommon as compared to other series that we have noted. And I think we could start with Brett this time. Let's switch it up.
Nice.
Well, this is my time to talk about Halloween 3, because my Uncommonplace is this film franchise was never originally intended to be a story about Michael Myers. To keep it short, John Carpenter did not want to do a sequel. He was kind of forced to do the second one. So he wrote it in a way in which he killed off Michael Myers. And the plan was to make it an anthology series with each film having a completely different horror story set during Halloween. And so that is why Season of the Witch does not feature Michael Myers at all, except for a clever little cameo where one of the characters is watching Halloween on the TV in like a convenience store or something like that. But it's interesting in its own. The famous Shamrock masks and the Silver Shamrock Company and everything. But instead of being about Michael Myers, it's about an evil company using masks to like take over and kill children and stuff like that. Has one hell of an ending though. Tom Atkins is in it, so that's my kind of uncommon place, is that originally it actually was not supposed to be 12 movies about Michael Myers. So Halloween Ends, when we get to talking about that, actually uses a few little elements of some of those past discarded ideas. So there you go.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, I know that it kind of ties into mine, really, for Uncommonplace. Mine is pretty much just the culture of the franchise, the culture and the fans of Halloween. I thought it was very uncommonplace that, and upon watching this and doing some research and looking around the webs, I couldn't believe how this cult following surrounding these movies I didn't even know existed. It's just uncommon to me that a movie about this, a slasher film about this mass murderer, got all these movies and constant attention, constant movie go. I mean, it never got old for a lot of these like real deep rooted fans, and I think that's super uncommon, especially with all these movies. 13.
There's 13 12 movies about Michael Myers.
Yes, going back to 1978. I think it's just I'm amazed by the longevity and just the fans of it supporting it for so long. The ability to keep it fresh, with pretty much the same antics, with some shifts, but one major one which would be the Busta Rhymes one.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
That one was, I think, the biggest tonal shift in my head as far as like the whole recipe of it. They switched it up a little bit, but for the most part, it's the same thing. And I read that it earned over $700 million. Before Halloween Ends, which I think box office was like 41 first week.
Oh wow.
But over 12 movies, $700 million. I just think, and I'm pretty sure with a budget to put in that wasn't that big. I know the first one was $350,000 for the first one to make.
Yeah, the original Halloween is one of the most profitable independent films ever made.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, just pretty broad, but my Uncommonplace is just the fans, the culture. I think it's super interesting and uncommon that this franchise did what it did and is still doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it also is what made Jamie Lee Curtis a household name.
Jamie Lee Jordan.
Jamie Lee Jordan.
Jamie Lee Jordan.
Who? Jamie Lee Jordan.
Well, first of all, I'm gonna take these stupid glasses off because this is all incredible.
It ruins it now.
Oh
no! My perfect costume is now ruined.
The very visible man.
Yeah. Well, mine kind of dovetails nicely into that. Mine is the endings of the movies. I think are like very uncommon. Like they seem to have a lot of faith in first of all the fans, that like people will wait until we do another installment to maybe pick the story back up right where it left off in a lot of cases. And also like we trust the writers and directors who are going to come next to figure a way out of whatever situation we put Michael in, where he's definitely dead, but then he won't be dead.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And in some cases it's better choices than others. What is it? H2O. Is it the beginning of H2O where it's or no, not H2O. Where Brett, this is where I'm gonna just lean on you totally.
You got it. You got it.
So, it is H2O ends with the decapitation.
Yep. It was supposed to be the end of the series.
End of the series. But while filming that, they also filmed the reveal that spoilers,
it was
of course.
Yeah. So Jamie was pissed about that because the whole point of her coming back for the 20th anniversary was to end it.
What? there is a clause that says we are not allowed to kill him. Now you fucking tell me?
The whole thing was end it. And then the studio was like, wow, we wanna make room for a sequel. So her agreement was, you can shoot that and you have that ready to go, but you do not put that in this movie. The audience needs to watch this movie and then think it's over. So they basically shot all that the same time they shot the ending of Halloween H2O, and then like held it in a can for like 4 years until they ended up coming up with Resurrection, or however long it took for them to do that one. So
But that's what I love about them, is that they just kind of have enough faith in the fact that people are going to want to watch these, and also whoever comes along and makes something next is going to be clever enough to write their way out of it. That they don't obviously set up sequels a lot, despite being a 13 movie long franchise. So I don't know. I think that was pretty uncommon, and I think it's cool, and it speaks to the strength of the character and the strength of the franchise.
Yeah. I think at some point they didn't even like feel the need to set up for another one, because it's like he's gonna come back. It's just they set it up in the beginning of the next one. Like, here's how, and usually it's pretty fast of that quick explanation. It doesn't, a lot of times it doesn't make sense, but we're in it for the ride at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's also like very dependent on what the audience wants and stuff. Like Halloween 4, the director, when he was making Halloween 4, he was like, "Oh no, we're killing Michael. Like we're killing him, and then Jamie is gonna take over for the franchise." And it ends with her like stabbing her stepmom or whatever, and that big shocker of an ending. And then the fifth one came around. I was like, "Oh no, not really. Like we still just want Michael Myers."
That scene in and of itself, and Brett, I think either in your review or maybe you just in conversation said this, that director was very inspired by Hitchcock, and that scene at the where she's at the top of the stairs and they're all just down below, like, oh my god, it's so Hitchcock, and for me it made it one of my favorite of the entire movies. Just
it's so great.
That scene,
and, like,
specifically.
Fucking Loomis, like you hear like Loomis like shouting in the background. He's like, no!
It's so good.
It's very classic cinema.
Shout out to
like,
Loomis.
Old school. Oh, Loomis. Donald Pleasance.
Shout out.
God bless you.
The only one I recognize.
He's amazing. Yeah.
All right, moving on to Mad Ones. Here we pick a character, we pick cast or crew, we pick the director of someone who stood out to us, particularly throughout this whole franchise. Brett, you want to take it away?
Oh my god. Well, there's like so many to choose from. Obviously, Jamie Lloyd is a wonderful character. His niece from 4, 5, and 6. And I mean, but I just, I think when you break the film franchise down, it's really interesting because you have two leads, and you have Jamie Lee and you have Donald Pleasance. And like when Jamie left the franchise after 2, Donald like stepped up and became like the Ahab that's constantly hunting down Michael and stuff. But then like when Jamie came back, it was like a big deal now because like she didn't return to the franchise until after Donald Pleasance had passed away. So it was almost like, well, if it's not gonna have, Donald Pleasance, we gotta have Jamie back. And I just think it's interesting how each film that has Jamie as a character has tried to bring in a new element of it. And like, especially in this new one with Halloween Ends, like as a fan of the franchise and as a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis and Laurie Strode as a character, it was one of my favorite parts of the new movie was simply the beginning, where I actually got to watch Laurie be like a well-adjusted and loving grandmother. And I was like, this is amazing. This is just back to this is like, she's been through so much. And yeah, of course, we love it when she's all badass and like the end of Halloween H2O where she takes the axe and she calls Michael out. Like, it's so awesome. And of course, everyone loved in Halloween H2O. Yeah. And then like in Halloween 2018, like when she traps him in the house and like all like Prepared Laurie is always like a badass take and everything. Yeah. But like, honestly, thinking about all the trauma and the shit she's been in, it's genuinely just felt great seeing her actually like well-adjusted, which is something that we never got to see. It's a closure we never got with Loomis, which is a shame. So
right, that's true.
I guess so. It's like half Loomis, half Laurie is my like mad one. It's like the duality of like, if it's not like Like, if it's not Loomis being like an Ahab type of like, we need to destroy the evil. One of my favorite moments is when he's with the preacher in the old pickup truck in 4. And he's like, hunting it, ain't you? And like everything, like it's just like it's this so almost good. Like it's like Michael is this biblical threat, and like it's interesting because no one like thinks of Michael in that way except for Loomis and Laurie.
Love it.
Yeah. So well, I know Rob Zombie redid them all, but he recasted Loomis not because of his death, but just because they were recasting everybody pretty much. It was a whole. Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
And Malcolm McDowell, which I thought did a great job for a totally different take on Loomis.
Totally.
100%, 50% different, but like, I really liked him for what he brought to it. You know.
I love him in 1. In 2, I don't recognize the character, but
God,
I love the actor.
Asshole in 2,
he's just a totally different character.
But
that was a
swings.
That was a completely different man in 2, right?
You're fucking disgusting.
I don't know.
No,
what
you
a
are.
Bristol is.
You are fucking disgusting.
Tell me what a Bristol is.
A Bristol is a Bristol City, a titty.
Malcolm McDowell's so fucking good.
He makes it. He makes it work. But it's also interesting. We'll talk about this more in detail, but it's interesting thinking about the different versions of a bunch of the different Halloween movies and how that affects characters like Loomis and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was last week years old when I found out that actor is the same guy from Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, man.
I was
Classic,
like,
dude.
what?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Malcolm McDowell's the shit.
My mad ones. Josh, would you like to go? You want me to go?
Well, mine's short, so I'll just throw it in.
Yeah.
I'm just a happy little design boy over here, and I just love the openers, man. I love the fonts. I get mad when it's not the orange classic font, and I get happy when it is. And I love all the different takes on the pumpkin zoom in.
Yep.
I love, especially what they did in the newer ones, how they kind of played that out.
Me too. I love that.
Paying tribute to the classic, but then also building their own little story with those openers. So yeah, that's mine. But overall, I would say the aesthetic is just so strong. It has such a strong, cohesive aesthetic throughout pretty much everything. But especially when they do like the classic stuff with the classic font and the orange, I love it.
Yeah,
Font boy Josh.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Well, first off, before I get into mine, Brett, I want to say I'm super surprised you didn't choose Carpenter as like an Uncommonplace or a Mad Ones. I totally thought you were gonna go there.
True. It's true. He is like quite possibly the greatest horror director ever. Man has masterpiece after masterpiece.
Yeah, because I mean, one of mine definitely is just I think the theme is as iconic as it is, super uncommon for. I mean, it's so distinct. I mean, of course, there's plenty, but that one is like top 5 probably.
Yeah,
and across all genres. But. My Mad Ones is silly. It's just the citizens and the civilians of Haddonfield. Why Haddonfield? Why in the fuck are they still living in this place? Raising generations of people in this place, and not only staying and living there still, but maintaining and also keeping Michael Myers' house and renovating it. Yeah. Shout out to Big John, Little John.
Rest in peace.
Who renovated the home. Every movie I'm like, leave. It's like Derry or Gotham. Simple fix. Get out.
Just leave. Just leave the whole place.
Just get out of there. It's just not a fun place to live. That's my little silly mad one. Shouts out to those citizens. Keep it up, I guess. What's the definition?
Keep doing what you're doing.
What's the definition of insanity, really? Keep trying over and over again. At least go on vacation around Halloween. Like, just get out.
Right. It's not until
Tampa.
What is it? Is it the final movie or the second to final movie where they're like, Halloween's canceled here? It's like,
that's in Halloween 6. They try and do that.
Oh, is it 6? Oh, okay.
And their whole thing is like, no, we want to bring it back. And then guess what happens?
Yeah, they have like a party.
That's right. That's right.
It's like, yeah.
Oh, but also a quick shout out to Kathleen Kinmont in Halloween 4. Cops, do it by the book. She's she's in a side Mad Ones just for bringing so much substance to the role and quality.
That's right.
Just phenomenal acting. That's all.
Huge amount of substance.
That's huge substance to the role. That's all.
She is the recipient of one of my favorite kills in like any horror movie. It's actually in my my Brett's Flicks on YouTube channel. The top 10 favorite horror movie deaths. Hers is when she's the girl that Michael stabs with a shotgun.
Yes.
Or with a rifle. He just like jams it through her and pins her to the door. It's so good.
Her acting job in that role is Halloween 4 to top ranks of my rankings.
Astonishing.
Just phenomenal.
Oscar quality.
Phenomenal.
Oh, God.
Okay, boys. Let's move on to Kill Your Darlings, or was it For Damn Kicks? What do we do first usually?
Kill Your Darlings first, yeah.
All right, so let's kill some darlings, Brett. What are you killing? Like Mike Myers.
Really tough question.
Where do you kill?
It's a really tough question. I'm gonna kill everyone that tried to everyone that changed Halloween 6 from what it was originally supposed to be, because so I have this fantastic book here. There's 2 volumes. Taking Shape 2.
This has become
Taking
a theme.
Shape. Yeah. Taking Shape chronicles the making of each film. It's really interesting. Taking Shape 2 talks about all the films that were never made and got really close.
There's more.
And there were like, these are things that never got made but were like close to being made and stuff. So like the original pitch for Halloween 6 in here is fucking amazing, and it's nothing like what we got released in the theaters. Regardless of whichever version you watch, there are 2 versions of that movie. There's the theatrical cut and there's the producer's cut, and they're both pretty much the same, except the theatrical cut ups the gore until you get to the last like 20 minutes, and then it's a completely different movie. And that's because they had this weird subplot about like a cult and like Michael Myers being cursed and all this stuff. So in the theatrical cut, it's like an insane asylum, and they're like, it's never fully explained, but it's hinted that like they're basically trying to meld science with superstition and like make like weird evil like fetus baby things with Michael's like blood or some shit. Who fucking knows? Yeah. The producer's cut, it's like a curse. The mark of thorn travels to like a different person. It passes on, and then like, you know, they are destined to kill their family line, which is what Michael was doing. But neither of those were like what was actually supposed to be in there. It was going to be much larger, much closer to Rosemary's Baby, and it was originally supposed to end on this like sick reveal that every single person in Haddonfield was a member of the cult. And so then Halloween 7 was going to be this like massive, like everyone basically worships like Sam Hain and like the season and Michael and like all this stuff. And it would have been this really interesting, cool thing to do.
All right, so I will go ahead and kill my darling Josh. And Rob Zombie, I'm coming for you.
Oh shit.
1 and 2. I'm sorry. 1 was good. I really liked 1. I
love 1.
It's really good.
It was so over the top, but it was so well done. Probably the best acting that you'll see in these from like just outside minor characters. Everyone pretty much brought it. I mean, well shot. First one was good, but then the second was like a trip, man. And I'm still not sure about what happened in it. I think the first one did so well. I was looking at the numbers, and it did so well that I think he got ahead of himself and just went left. So
full Rob Zombie.
That is another example of when you need to find an alternate cut of the movie, because he has director's cuts of both of his movies, and in the first one it's just a longer version of it. It's great regardless. But the second one, it's so different, especially the ending. Like he kills everyone. In his ending, Loomis, Michael, and Laurie all die. And the studio went, what the fuck, we're trying to make more movies here. So they forced him to go back and shoot that god awful ending that's in the theatrical cut that makes no fucking sense at all. It's so stupid and weird. That is a studio byproduct, not a product of Rob Zombie.
Not a Rob Zombie. I'll say that's also my darling, and it sucks because one is phenomenal. It's one of the best Halloween movies, and then two is like Halloween 6 for me, where it's like, what is the lore here?
Yeah.
Like, what is even happening? Actually, Spence and I watched that one together, and at the ending, Spence thought, wait, was it Laurie the whole time? Was Mike not even present for this movie? And I thought that would have made this a phenomenal movie if it was actually just Laurie.
I rewrote it.
But I don't think that's what they were going for. I think it was just so confusing. And
it's so confusing and weird.
They changed the Michael actor too. They changed the Michael, the kid.
He had grown. He'd gotten a lot bigger in between years, and they were like, oh,
and they needed those repetitive moments of him and the mother. But but the weirdness aside, because it's Rob Zombie, so I'll take a lot of that. Actually, the thing that for me kind of ruined it is, it's where Rob Zombie's first Halloween is really good, is that it's so grounded, it feels really real. But 2 takes that to like another level too, where like especially the scene in like the strip club, I actually was just kind of grossed out, and which doesn't happen to me often, but I was just kind of like, this is too much of what would happen if a real psychopath killed somebody, and I was like, I'm disturbed watching this.
That was his intent, because in interviews and in the commentary, he talks about how after he did the first one, like everyone was like, oh, this kill was so cool, this blah 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 was so sick, and he was like, holy crap, they're like really excited and like happy about like death. And so he was like, you should not be happy about death. Death is very uncomfortable to watch. So that was like his mission with the second one.
Mission accomplished.
They basically forced him to do the second movie. So like a lot of that is almost kind of like Sam Raimi with Spider-Man 3, where he's like, all right, you want me to do Halloween 2?
You want it?
You want it?
You got it.
All right, here's Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah.
You're going to hate it. It's like the Michael Scott peach iced tea. You're going to hate it.
That scene that you're talking about, Josh, it just goes on forever. Like the murder is continuous. I almost forgot about that, and now it's like that. Anyway, love you, Rob Zombie.
Love Rob Zombie.
That rendition of "Kill Your Darlings" is not in any way a threat to Rob Zombie. That's an aside.
Please don't hurt us, you weird man.
All right, so we got the same Kill Your Darlings. So yeah, for damn kicks, we're gonna just say,
for damn kicks,
what would we add to this? What would give us some life to, in our personal opinions? What would give some life to one of these movies or the entire franchise? Brett, you can go ahead and kick us off.
Well, I think it's really hard, especially with a franchise like this, with like, I mean, it's the same for like Nightmare on Elm Street and like Friday the 13th, where the brand is defined by very specific things, and if you don't deliver that, the fans will hate you. Halloween Ends is a really good example of like a lot of fans are really disliking Halloween Ends because Michael doesn't have as much screen time, and you have like his evil passing to another character and all this stuff, and so it's like, it's almost like Michael himself isn't as big a deal in this one. And, you know, it's more about this kid becoming a serial killer. I think that's fantastic and brilliant, and I think it's really interesting. It's still not the best Halloween movie, but it makes it very interesting. And after you having 13 movies, you need to add something new to the table. And I think that, like, they hinted at it in Halloween Kills with, like, basically turning Michael from a mere man into the boogeyman, a living embodiment of fear that haunts this town and like infects other people and stuff. And that's why like Laurie realizes that like her holding up in her home and becoming a bitter person is basically Michael winning, like, because the trauma that he put on her beats her. And so that's why it's really important that in Halloween Ends, she is like a well-adjusted, loving grandma, because that is how you beat the boogeyman. But obviously a lot of fans didn't like that. So, you know, it's tough, because it's like, what do you do that satisfies your need and your itch for something new while also giving the fans what they want? Which the idea of Michael being a pure boogeyman and the embodiment of evil and his evil passing to others is something that like John Carpenter played around with in the very conceptions. It was hinted at the end of Halloween 4. It was hinted at in Halloween 6. Like there are like it's been a thing that people have been playing with but never fully like embraced until this movie. And yet again, people didn't like it. I'm saying this over and over again because when you think about what can you do to revitalize this franchise, it's so hard. Maybe harder than something like Star Wars or something like a Middle Earth tale, where it's more about like the world you exist in that's important to what makes that franchise. Whereas with this, it's such a specific formula. But I think it would be absolutely fascinating if we did get to see a fleshed out version of the unwritten version of Halloween 6, where the whole town is in on it. We have a Rosemary's Baby situation. They're somehow feeding, like it's almost like sacrificial, like they bring people into the town as like sacrifices for Michael or something. Like I just think that would be an interesting new way to go back and like revisit the character and to visit some ideas that never saw the light of day.
Yeah, I think that that's how it was feeling like they were setting up Halloween Ends. It felt like the kid was bringing people down for Michael to feed on, to become stronger.
Yeah, I kind of felt that too. Yeah.
You know what's funny, Brett? We have the same, and I didn't know that was a thing that was supposed to be on screen. We have the same for Damn Kicks. I want to see, because I was thinking about the way the first movie ends, right? And it's like we won, and then it's like no, we didn't. I would have loved to see Halloween Ends explore that idea more and see it become like a viral outbreak where it's like we did it, we conquered evil, and then you see like in Japan something crops up or in here, you know what I mean? Like you see it start spreading out around the world, and then the whole franchise ends with that of like no, you don't beat this. But we have the exact same thing, which I love because I agree. Halloween Ends, it was not my favorite Halloween movie. But not for that reason. I liked that thing of maybe the mechanism of how it's like, oh, he choked him and then he gets it. But they showed how he has enough motivation to be evil, Corey, in and of himself. Yeah. And even if it's not that everyone who emulates him becomes this supernatural being like him, even if they're just pawns that are way more mortal than he is, I think it would be really cool to see kind of an outbreak of that, of just like, mini Mike Myers running around everywhere.
The evil cannot be contained.
My for Damn Kicks,
Spence?
It's pretty simple. I feel like I'm a big fan of cut and dry endings, so I really liked H2O. If it weren't for like the original nostalgia of like the first two, it probably would be my favorite, just because it just gives us a clean. The way that she kills him,
so good.
It was just like, this is it. Like because the whole time I feel like in every movie I'm like, you gotta go for his head, cut his head off, and then she just does it and it ends. And I just really, really like that. I mean, if Halloween Ends wasn't really the ending, do something similar to that, where I know that you touched on this earlier, Brett, where, she's just loving grandma now and it's apathetical to her being like Rambo, right? In like the 2008 one, and like kind of fighting and fending him off and, locking herself into this home. But I like that a lot. And it doesn't have to be the same exact way, but in some way, just a battle between her and Michael, one-on-one, like abandoned building, warehouse, whatever it is, and just end it kind of like H2O did. I just thought that was very, like, to me, it was very pleasing to watch. And I would have.
So your for Damn Kicks is like a one more movie that's like just Laurie v. Michael. The whole thing.
Yeah, it's like a Predator situation. Like, let him loose and have her be like Dutch in the jungle or something. I don't know, but I just love that. H2O. When I think of this franchise, it sticks out to me the most.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites as well.
And also, what happened to Josh Hartnett? I mean, she had a son, and he's
right.
He's gone.
So can we side note that real quick? So canonically, the final trilogy, right, picks up right after 2. Or not right after, but I mean only 2 exist, and then
we can find a handy dandy little chart to throw up on the screen. But here's the different timelines. So the original one is like Halloween 1 through 6. 3's on its own.
Right.
But Halloween 1, 2, and then 4, 5, and 6 are like its own thing. And then technically the H2O quadrilogy, which is Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection. And then the 2 Rob Zombies exist on their own.
Yeah.
And then the newer 3, the David Gordon Green Boogeyman trilogy, as I like to call it, the Boogeyman trilogy. That one takes place right after Halloween 1. So it ignores Halloween 2 because that is where they established that they're siblings. So in the new trilogy, they're not related at all.
And remember, I was asking you. I'm going. Are they just pretending they're not siblings? Because there's this like weird romantic.
There's the line of dialogue where there's that line of dialogue in the 2018 one where they're talking about it and they go, "I thought she was his sister," and she goes, "No, that was just a rumor." So it's like referencing like
she kisses him.
Yeah, we know normally.
Doesn't she kiss him?
That's the beginning of Resurrection. It's right before he throws her off the building. She kisses him, and in that film they are brother and sister.
Right.
I was gonna give them a pass.
Just weird.
I was gonna give it a pass because they weren't technically brothers and sisters.
No.
So yeah,
right.
but that's what sets the new ones apart is they are not related in the new ones.
Right.
So you have like a cool cathartic ending for like the sister story. And then, as long as you ignore Resurrections, which I always do, it ends with H2O. She cuts his head off, and then that's it. It's over.
It's perfect. I jumped up and down at the end of that. I was like so hyped.
It's so great. It's great.
Really
so
good.
it's like that's the good ending for like the relationship storyline of like them being related, and then it ends as like, but if they're not related, there you go. She still gets justice, and she throws him into like a fucking car crusher.
Yeah, which is pretty sweet. It explains this being that the last 3 is being the Boogeyman series, because instead of him having this mission to kill his sister and his family, it's just fear. Like this is just a bad guy.
It's just like he's like that's the whole thing is you can never understand evil, so there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Ties, yeah.
Anyone could be next, and yeah.
All right, well, let's go to quotes then. Brett, you wanna wrap us up with your quote?
My quote is Dr. Loomis. When I was in college and theater class, I did a monologue of this whole speech. I'm not gonna do the whole thing.
Do the whole thing.
Do the whole thing.
I spent 8 years trying to reach this young boy. And then I spent another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was behind those eyes was purely and simply evil. I love him. I love Pleasant.
Oh, the voice. Actually, that's a great voice too.
Oh, thank you.
I was doing a thing while watching where anytime he'd start a monologue, I would just start cheering like, "Yes, monologue!"
It's so good. His little monologue.
Loomis.
I mean, even in 6, like even in the weak ones, Loomis has those bomb ass monologues.
Yeah,
There's
a few things that are iconic with the Halloween movies that I would shout, "Halloween's back, baby!" anytime they do it, which is excessive nudity right before a kill, and a Loomis monologue,
Loomis.
Oh, and a Mike Myers nap to regenerate his health.
Oh yeah. Which I gotta say real quick, in Halloween Kills, the opening of that was so emotional for me because they were able to bring back Loomis, and that is not CG when he shows up there.
How'd they do that?
That is the dude that worked on the production that looks a lot like him. So they just added a few extra. They added a few extra bits of makeup and lit him a certain way to get it to look
Spence,
perfect.
you were right. You said that's a different actor. I went, no, they must have done a face replacement or something.
No, I can see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can see it.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because Loomis is like, other than Laurie and Michael, Loomis is the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
I just want to say before my quote, which is also Loomis, my favorite, it should have been my mad one because he's great, but my favorite Loomis moment is when the kid, I think it's the first one. No, it could be the second one.
I think it's 2. I know what you're saying.
When the kid gets hit by the car and bursts into flames, and nobody really cares, and Loomis especially just goes about his business of finding Mike, but this kid was just murdered in the middle of the street.
No, it wasn't him. There's more. There's bigger fish to fry.
Not him.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, so mine is from Loomis, and it is: the darkest souls are not those which choose to exist within the hell of the abyss, but those which choose to move silently among us. Loomis. Dr. Loomis.
Nice.
That's a good one.
I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect for Mike.
Yeah, it's great. Loomis has a great quote in like each of them, and 2, he has that thing where he's like, I shot him 6 times, and he walked away. There is no man. Like,
the amount of times, I just want to do a tally, the amount of times where he tries to convince everyone else that this is not a man. The amount of times he's like, definitely not human. Oh, so God, the random kid deaths are hysterical too. When the mob just shoots a random child.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
like,
right.
That's so great. Yeah,
that's
and
right.
4 when they shoot a dude and they're like, oh no, it wasn't him.
Anyway.
I forgot there's more than one just kids being just killed by civilians.
So my quote is not him, but it is him adjacent. And Brett, you kind of touched on this earlier. It's maybe my favorite character in the whole franchise because it's so biblical. It's so Homer's Odyssey. Is the traveling reverend, and he says, "You can't kill damnation, Mister. It don't die like a man dies."
Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect.
So great.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's perfect. This has been a hell of a Halloween. Happy spooky season. Probably the most movies I've watched in a sitting. Approaching this, especially of the same genre.
I think we watched 4 in a day at one point. Yeah.
Kept coming back for more. I was never really out of it. I think after the Rob Zombies 2 is when I was like, ooh, I'm getting tired of this. But then it
little fatigue.
Yeah.
A little fatigue.
But fatigue is the perfect word, and you're right, Spence. I didn't really feel it anywhere close to how I felt it with our upcoming franchise that we decided to put ourselves through, which is Twilight, which I felt that fatigue within 10 minutes of the movie. And then,
10 minutes of the first movie, you're like, all right, fuck this.
November, and we're coming for you. Twilight.
Yeah. Only to find out that there's 5 of them. Oh, that was horrible. Twilight was horrible.
It's horrible.
But
You'll hear us bitch about it at length. Yeah. Oh, man.
That's coming.
Well, this has been another rendition of the Holy Goof series Sit Down. As Brett always says,
you goofers be spooking this season.
Oh.
I'm gonna change it up. I'm going to change it up for Halloween. Goofers be spooking.
All together now. 1, 2, 3. You goofers be spooking.
Stay goofy.
So just
and stay goofy.